Study control and coordination in plants, and now we will study the movement in plants. We have already studied the movement in plants. Now we know there are two types of movements in plants. One is growth dependent and the other is growth independent. In this module, we will concentrate on growth independent movement. Certain movement of plants that do not result in their growth are termed as growth independent movement. In such plants, there will be definite movement, but there will be no growth. When we touch the leaves of Mimosa pudica plant, the leaflets close. Mimosa pudica is a very famous plant, and I think most of you have touched this plant, whose name is Touch Me Not. You have touched this plant, and as soon as you touch the leaves of this plant, the leaflets, they close. So can you see any movement? Yes, the leaflets are closing, the moving is happening. But can you see any growth? No, not at all. There is no growth, only movement. So this is a perfect example of growth independent movement. In this, the movement is in response to the stimulus of touch. And such movements which happens due to stimulus of touch are called as seismonastic movement. So this is a beautiful example of seismonastic movement. The movement in response to stimulus of touch. But now, there must be a doubt coming in your mind. How does this happen? How can a plant close its leaflets as soon as you touch it? There must be something happening inside the leaves, inside the plants, inside the stem. We know one thing. Any movement in plant is because of some chemicals called as hormones. To understand this, let's see the plant in detail. We will go inside the plant and understand what is going on inside the plant, which is making the leaflets to close. Movement in plants are brought about by hormones in response to the change occurring in its surrounding. Let's zoom out this portion. When we touch the leaves of Mimosa pudica, there is definite release of some hormones in the plants. Now, due to these hormones, something is happening inside the leaves, inside the stalk of these leaves. So let's zoom out the stalk of the leaves. We all know every organism is made up of cells, and these cells, they contain water. Now, these hormones, along with some ions, they move from one cell to another, passing the information. And here you can see some potassium ions have arrived. Due to the hormones, these ions, they have arrived. Ions cause the water to come out from the cells, leading the cells to shrink. As soon as we touch the plant, hormones are released, and because of the release of the hormones, these potassium ions are released, and because of the release of these potassium ions, cells, they lose their water. And as soon as they lose their water, cells shrinks. And as the cell shrinks, the leaves, they close. The change in the shape of the cell caused the movement in plant. But since the information is conducted from one cell to another, the movement also happens at a place different from touch. We are touching the front part of the plant, and the last leaflet is also closing. So what do we know about growth independent movement? The first point, movement occur at a place different from the place of touch. You can clearly see it in this figure. This means the information has been communicated. Now you know the information has been communicated through hormones. The plant is using electrical, which means the potassium ions, and chemicals, which means the hormones, to transfer the information from one cell to the another. There is no specialized tissue present for the conduction of information. The hormones conducted the information throughout the plant. The cells either swell or shrink and thus change their shape to cause the movement in plant. If the cells are swell, the leaflets open, and if the cells are shrink, the leaflets close. In this way, Mimosa pudica plant close its leaflets because of the stimulus of touch.